all coming back to you for Poetry Part 4. This is going to wrap up poetry for us. Kind of a short, it's not fair that we only get to do it for 4 days. This really doesn't allow it to have the attention that it needs, but that's okay because we are just going to make do with what we got. So, without any further ado, we are going to get to talk about types of poems today. There are so many types of poems, and today I've narrowed it down to 5. And to choose only 5 to talk about was kind of hard because just do some extra research on it and you'll find that there are so many different layouts and rhythms that you can have. But I thought that these 5 would be not only fun for us to do, they should be fairly simple for you to do at home. Most people are familiar with these. These are some of the most popular kinds. So today we're going to get into 5 different types of poems: acrostic, cinquain, 5 senses, limerick, and cleryhoo. On the homework, you will see that there are several options for you to write on. You don't have to write on them. You can just write it on notebook paper. That's not a big deal. You do not have to do all of them. I only need you to choose one. If you want to and you have all the time in the world to do another one, then please do not let me stop you. Go ahead and do another one. None of the teachers would be upset if you did more than what you were asked. But for this week, you only have to choose one. The first poem that we are going to talk about are acrostic poems, a poem in which the first letter of each line, when you read it down the page, it spells out a message or a name. But it's not just any word, it's the actual subject of the poem. So here I have an example of an acrostic poem. When you look down, it spells spring. Each line is a word or word phrase that describes spring itself. So, sprinkling rain, petals blowing, rainbows, I love spring, new insects, great days ahead. Notice it doesn't even have to rhyme. It just has to describe the subject that goes down the page. A lot of people like to do these with their names, or when you make a card for someone, you can do their name and describe that person. That would be an awesome way to do an acrostic poem for your assignment. Another type of poem is called a cinquain poem. If you choose to do a cinquain poem, I would play this video again and pause it right here on this slide because sometimes it's hard to remember what each line is supposed to be. So here with a cinquain poem, you have 5 lines. Each line has a certain number of syllables. The first line has 2 syllables. The second line has 4 syllables. The third line has 6 syllables. The fourth line has 8 syllables. Line 5 has 2 syllables at the end. So it goes from 2, 4, 6, 8, and then back to 2. Here's an example of a cinquain poem. Thought that baseball is being missed right now, so this would be a good one for us right now. Baseball. Bat cracks against the pitch, sending it out over the back fence. I did it, home run. Now what you can see is baseball, that's your 2 syllables. Bat cracks against, 1, 2, 3, 4, is your 4 syllables and all the way down through there, ending with home run with 2 syllables again. A 5 senses poem is a poem that is 6 lines. It does not have to rhyme, and this is a type of poem that uses similes. Remember when we talked about similes last week, they are using like and as to describe something. So with your 5 senses, I know this is a little bit blurry, but I can still read it to you. They are describing a topic with each of your 5 senses. Your topic could include emotions or concepts, add color words, and a comparison. So, for example, if you wanted to talk about cupcakes, your first line is the name of what you're talking about. So, cupcakes. It smells like blank. It tastes like blank. It sounds like blank. It feels like blank, and then it looks like blank. So those are very simple. You should be familiar with your five senses. If any of them are the easiest ones, I would think that this would be one of them. But it's also a good review on your five senses. A limerick. A limerick is a funny poem with a strong beat. They are light-hearted poems and sometimes can be utter nonsense. They are usually short and funny. Here we have a limerick poem as an example. There was an old man with a beard who said, "It is just as I feared. 2 owls and a hen, a lark and a wren have built their nest in my beard." Okay, so it's got a little bit of life when you read it. Obviously, this is a nonsense poem because there's 2 owls, a hen, a lark, and a wren, which are all types of birds, could not live in a man's beard, but it does make for a funny story. A clary hue, wrapping it up with the final one that we're going to talk about today. A clary hue poem, they're funny, and you write about a specific person. They need to have a couple of things to make them a clary hue poem. They have to have 4 lines. They have rhyming couplets of AA, BB. The person's name is its first line. So whatever your person's name is going to be your first A. Something to say about that person, and it should make you smile, so it should be nice. This is a clary hue poem about Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, what does he do? I wish I had as much money as Pooh has honey. Okay, so here we have Pooh and Do as your couplet of AA, money and honey as your couplet of BB. Remember, if you need a refresher on that, Tuesday's lesson was about rhyming couplets. So, what does this mean for you? Your assignment is to choose one of the styles that we've talked about today. It can be about anything you'd like, and like you can write it on notebook paper, you can write it on the paper that we've provided for you. Please don't forget to write your name and turn it in. Again, when we look at the homework, this is to help explain what we did here. Is I gave an example or a page for each type just for publishing to make it pretty. Here's a planning sheet for your 5 senses. If you don't want to use these, you absolutely do not have to. You can make it however you want to at home. These just give you some publishing. This is something we would have used in class. So if you don't want to, that's fine. Notebook paper is fine. Plain paper is fine. But I really would stress that you write these instead of typing them. I think it's good for you to write them. Y'all could use the practice. If you type it, it's fine. Absolutely, it's fine. But I would prefer, me personally, for my class to write them. If you have any questions, please give me a call or an email. Your parents know how to get a hold of all your teachers. We miss you, and we hope you have a good weekend. Bye.